And we're back. Somebody asked me to do one more video of this before they went on vacation, so here we go. As we walk back out into the city, Lily takes hold of my arm once again. So, did you get any good ideas for a present? To be honest, no. I've never been very good at picking them, neither have I. As absurd as it sounds, perhaps we should just look around. Hearing Lily utter those words throws me for a moment. Alright, how do we do that? That's just the reaction I was expecting. It's simple. You can go window shopping and just tell me what is around. If something interesting comes up, then we might get an idea. Alright, I'm still not so sure of this, but I'll take your word for it. I think we'll manage. Hanako and my sister and I managed to do it well enough. With Lily's simplistic and rather optimistic statement, we set off into the shopping district of the city, and I started describing everything I see to Lily. It's hard to think of Hanako going window shopping. She doesn't feel like the type to place much stock in fashion, nor have I noticed her reading magazines and the like. In fact, all I think I've ever really seen her do as a hobby is read books. There's a warehouse shop just ahead. Looks like it's mostly crockery, though. What the heck is crockery? I can't think she'd have much of a need for that. And what type of a message would that send to her? Cook more food? That's not a bad idea, maybe. Sometimes it's best to leave these things alone, Hazal. Once again, I get the feeling that Hanako's exploits in the kitchen aren't always successful. Lily must have had to help her with that sometimes. Let's see, next along is a bookshop. That seems like a good one. She's always reading. Yes, but there are a few problems with books. I'm not quite sure what she has and hasn't read. And what about a gift card, then? This is nothing as impersonal as giving someone a gift card. It's like saying, I don't know enough about you to work out what you'd like. I ask people to give me either money or gift cards. Like, it's a lot better than them buying me something, and then, like, having me not like it, and I'd have to be like, oh, yeah, thanks. I always thought of it as making sure they got what they wanted. You see, there you go. Giving people gifts is supposed to show them the level of affection you have for them. If you can't decide on a simple gift for them, then how much could you think of them? Right, no gift cards. Lily seems overly passionate about this, but I can see her point. If you're going to get something for someone, then you should at least put some thought into it. If I want to get something for Hanako that reminds her of us every day, then what good is a gift card? In that case, what did you get Hanako last year? A porcelain doll. I thought that if she had someone to talk to, it might help ease her pain. A doll is never going to criticize her, after all. So should I be looking for a doll shop? If you could be so kind to keep a lookout for one, I would be grateful. Sounds good to me, though I wish you'd mentioned it earlier. Oh, but if I did that, then you wouldn't have started thinking for yourself, would you? Once again, Lily has a point. My brain is currently analyzing every store we pass for gift options. If Lily had mentioned a doll shop to begin with, I wouldn't have thought of anything else. We wander through the city streets, but seem unable to find anything that resembles a doll shop or anything that I could consider a fitting present. The simple act of searching is starting to clear my head. The events of last week are starting to fade away, and I'm looking forward to giving Hanako her gift. If I can find one, that is. This is hopeless. I thought we'd be able to find something in the city for sure, and I'm sure we walked around this street at least once before. That almost sounds like you're giving up, Hazao. No, I'm not, but it's a lot harder than I thought. Try not to be so restricted in your thinking. Maybe we should actually go into some shops and have a look around. Well, that might work. I've never really been any good at window shopping. Lily and I circle around the city streets once more, this time popping into stores that catch our attention. In the end, though, nothing comes up as especially appropriate. Hanako's tastes are often quite hard to pin down at the best of times, thanks to her intensely private nature, and those tastes we do know are hard to accommodate. Maybe we take a break for a minute. I'm a bit exhausted. I agree, and leave Lily to rest against the railing while I go get a couple of drinks from a nearby vending machine. After walking up to the vending machine and grabbing myself some lemonade, I found myself at a bit of a loss. Not really knowing Lily's tastes, I decided to take a guess and grab something that seems a little girly but not too weird: strawberry-flavored milk. Back. I walk up to her and place the carton into her outstretched hands, making sure she has a grip on it before letting go. She feels out its contours before opening it and taking a very tentative sip, her approving smile afterwards telling me I've made the right choice. We both rest and have a quiet drink for a few minutes. A familiar soft ring begins to sound from Lily's side. She quickly apologizes as her hand goes into her pocket, pulling out her mobile phone. Do you mind if I take this? It's fine, don't worry. She nods to me and thanks before turning away and flipping the phone open, bringing it to the side of her face as she picks up the call. Going by the tone of Lily's voice, the person on the other end is no doubt some friend or another. I tune out their conversation pretty quickly as the snippets that Lily says make it sound like a little more than gossip. Without much else to do, I find myself watching Lily. She really is a pretty girl, which would hardly hurt her popularity in school. It's interesting just how much Hanako and Lily contrast with each other in both personality and appearance. For a few minutes, I just leaned back and drank, watching her. Before long, Lily says her goodbyes to the person she's talking to and hangs up, placing her phone back in her pocket and leaning back against the railing as before. Oh, sorry, just a friend from class. I take one final swig from my can before throwing it into the bin. Lily gives me her carton to throw away soon after, finishing it off relatively quickly. You seem to have a lot of friends. Oh? Lily waits for me to continue, her interest piqued. I was just thinking that you and Hanako contrast really heavily. It's hard to imagine Hanako doing all of the things that you do or knowing the people you know. You seem to think about Hanako quite a bit. I don't know, it's just she's mysterious, I guess. I kind of want to know more about her, which isn't that easy. It almost sounds like you're doubting your relationship to her. I don't think it's that. I just want to do more for her, being her friend and all. I don't even really know how she sees me. This statement seems to interest Lily quite a bit. I wonder if Hanako said anything about me to Lily during their conversations. I'm about to ask what's on her mind as she picks herself up from the railing. Shall we be off then? Her voice and expression show that she's playing games with me. Lily knows damn well that she's leaving me hanging. With a sigh, I pick myself up off the railing as well and have a brief look around. We have stuff to do, so I'll just try and get back to her about this later. Tucked in between a newsstand and a convenience store is a small shop. The sign above the door reads Othello's Antiques Decorative English Script. It would be easy to miss if we were walking along the street, but since we're stationary and I'm purposely looking around, it's just noticeable. Say, Lily, that doll you got at Hanako, was it new? Well, yes, but I'm not quite sure what you mean. I think I found our shop. It's across the road. Oh, what is it? Some kind of toy shop? It's an antique shop. I think that's probably going to be our best bet. Really? I didn't even know we had one of those near here. Neither did I. Missed it the first time we went by here. It's pretty well hidden. Well, then, it can't hurt to check. Inspired by this new find, we quickly dust ourselves off and head towards the store, Lily's hand finding its way to my elbow for guidance. The store has a strange, musky scent to it. The layout is more like a garage than a store. Things are strewn about the floor without any immediate semblance of order. The shopkeeper gives us an almost bored look through his particularly small eyes. His face looks weary and tired, and his dress style is distinctly anachronistic. He gives us a polite nod of welcome before going back to his book. Lily holds tightly onto my arm, and I find myself having to split my efforts between making sure we don't miss a potential gift for Hanako and making sure Lily doesn't inadvertently bump into anything. The task is quite difficult, given the haphazard way the store is laid out and the many things poking out of the shelves they're on or sitting on pieces of furniture, but eventually we safely arrive at an old desk covered in dolls and teddy bears. I think this is the right place. There's pretty much every kind of doll you can imagine here. That should make the choice much simpler. Could you please pick one for me, Izo? I had a feeling that I would come to this. I picture Hanako in my mind and try to imagine which of the dolls before me would suit her best. My eyes wander across the collection. Each one is as exquisite as the one before. The sheer number of styles is boggling, but eventually one catches my eye. Here, how about this one? I pick up a small porcelain doll that looks to be at least somewhat affordable, dressed in a Victorian-era green dress with a little brown hat sitting atop its blonde hair. It looks a little like Lily. I gently pass it to her, who delicately feels her way around the object while wearing a look of slight concentration. It certainly feels beautiful. Do you think it would suit Hanako, in your opinion? I think it would. It could look good in her room. In that case, I'll trust your judgment. Will you be getting her something as well, or shall this be a shared gift? I'm not sure. I think I should get her something myself, but I don't think getting her another doll is a great idea. Maybe. Let my voice trail off as I look around the shop, resting on a writing table not far from us is a decorative box that catches my eye. Wait here, I think I found some. My, that was fast. I gingerly walk through a collection of crystal glassware and pick up the box. The wooden sides are covered in carvings depicting ancient battles around a castle. The top, however, looks far too familiar. Alternating squares of white and black varnished wood are arranged on the lid. That's a really nice item. It's a chess set from overseas. The store owner's sudden appearance startles me a little. I didn't see him approaching at all. So is he trying to help us because we don't really look like we know what we're looking for? Or on the other hand, maybe he wants to keep an eye on us because he suspects we might shoplift instead. I'm looking for a present for a friend. I see. In that case, this chess set would make a fine choice. Realization floods into my mind. This is a pretty good-looking set, but this is an antique shop. They're not well known for their bargain prices. How old is this? This is a reproduction. My best estimate is that it's about 5 years old. I see. How much? He thinks a little before telling me, which is slightly disconcerting. I'll let you take this now for 7,000 yen. That's like $70. I balk a little. I wasn't expecting to spend that much, but this does seem perfect. Then again, maybe that's a testament to how well he worked out how much he could make me pay. Couldn't make it 5,000? 55, no lower. I'm sold. Oh, we'd also like to get that doll. The store owner looks over my shoulder, focusing on Lily and the doll in her hands. His eyes narrow when he visibly takes a moment to switch mental gears. In the process, his smile drops lightly. Ah, I guess that means not everything in his store is reproduction. Are you quite sure that you want that doll, miss? I trust my friend's judgment. I see, no offense. None taken. If you could please wrap it for me, it would be appreciated. Yes, of course, but it is... Oh! Oh. Lily reaches into her purse and presents 4 crisp-looking... Oh, that's nothing. Here you are, 20,000 yen. The storekeeper dutifully takes them and the doll and proceeds to the counter. I take Lily's arm to guide her there. Are you sure about this? It's a doll. It shouldn't be $200. It's okay, I have the funds I need. As I said, I trust your judgment. I feel a little guilty on 2 fronts. Firstly, because Lily has to spend a lot of money on my recommendation, and secondly, because I have a feeling the value of my gift isn't high enough. Nevertheless, Lily does seem to get somewhat awkward whenever the mention of money comes about. I hand the shopkeeper my present and the money for it. In turn, he puts the cash into the register before busying himself with wrapping the doll and repeating the process on the chessboard. Eventually, he finishes the gift wrapping and hands us both our presents. Please be careful on your way back, and do come again. Thanks. Indeed, thank you very much. The store owner bows deeply to us as we leave. Well, it did take us all day, but we found something in the end. That we did. Now that the presents are wrapped, I'm feeling a little impatient to give them to Hanako. It's a common reaction to buying gifts, wanting to see the reaction of the receiver as they discover what it is. And part of me wants to return to Hanako just to confirm her condition with my own eyes. So should we head back? Let's. We've done a lot of walking today, so I shan't mind taking a rest back at the dormitories. Lily's right, now that the need to find a shop is over, my legs are feeling quite tired. Well then, back to the school for us. I'm looking forward to resting for a bit too. Lily holds out her arm, and I link mine with hers. Together, we make our way back to the bus stop. And drink time? Yep. Alright. Muto reads equations and formulas to us one by one, his usual enthusiastic monotone, directly from the book. It's possible that he might be excited about what he teaches us. Sometimes he can display an awkward spark of passion for it, and as if he's starting to get into the material. Most days, however, are like this one. What we're covering is fairly simple, so I find it increasingly difficult to keep my concentration on him. It's not too long until my legs begin aching again, which only makes it even harder. I'm almost starting to regret walking around the city yesterday with Lily. Since leaving the hospital, I've done very little physical exertion. Walking to and from the local corner store hardly counts, despite Emmy's attempts. When I first arrived in Yamaku, I've largely given up on the idea of ever returning to my old level of fitness. I have little doubt that's why walking around town for so many hours has made me quite sore. It's depressing, and it reminds me of one more thing I can't do since I had my heart attack. It makes me feel pathetic. Now, Ikazawa? It's odd for Muto to ask Hanako a question, but not unheard of. She quickly jumps to her feet, a little startled, and immediately pins her eyes onto him. She knows that Muto calling on her is rare, so all eyes in the classroom are going to be on her. This way, she doesn't run the risk of making eye contact with anyone else. Yes? In this particular example of a redox reaction, the combustion of methane reaction actually produces one more product than is listed. That product is... Even though it's a softball question, she timidly waits a bit before answering, biting down slightly on her lower lip as if to keep her concentration. Heat? Well done, this is an exothermic reaction, with the reaction giving more heat than is put into it. Receiving a nod from Muto, Hanako takes her seat once again and gives a relieved sigh. A shaky start, but it's something. It'll be nice to take her out for her birthday somewhere different from the usual isolation of her room in the tea room. With the progress she's made until now, I don't think she'll have much of a problem going to the city. Right then, for the remainder of this class, I'd like you to work in groups of 3 or 4 on the problems in Chapter 12. I'll be here if you need me. Muto sits down behind his desk, pulls some loose sheets out of a folder, and starts on some kind of paperwork of his own. I thought teachers were supposed to do that kind of thing after class, not during it. Regardless, I'd look to my right and pick out someone to form a group with. Given the 2 smiling faces hovering near mine, I don't think I'm going to get much say in the matter. I suppose we have a group then. Ichan, you want to work together? Okay, that's great. It's really been a while. The class begins the process of noisily shuffling the desks around, with Shizune doing the same as she puts hers in front of mine. She's a little lucky to not be able to hear the din in the classroom, which is loud enough to cause some discomfort. Truth be told, working with Shizune and Misha is probably a good outcome. Shizune and I are pretty good at the subject, and Misha has really nice handwriting. As I look to Misha, I notice a tall figure behind her. The shadow catches Misha's attention as well as she turns to face the dark-haired observer. Good afternoon, Hanako. Hello. Shizune finally notices Hanako after looking up and following the gazes of Misha and I. In quick measure, she taps Misha on the shoulder to get her attention before sunning away. Shi-chan says if you're looking for a group, you can join ours. Hanako looks down and blushes a little at the offer. Out of all the people in the class, Hanako is most familiar with the three of us, so it's reasonable that she'd come to us first. Then again, her actually coming up to a group with the intention of joining them is something she apparently very rarely did before. She leaves briefly to drag her desk over, and Shizune and Misha wheel back to me as soon as her back is turned. I guess we get to play again, Hee-chan. You hardly ever play with us anymore. I wonder why. You two always seem to have some ulterior motive. That hurt, Hee-chan. I'd almost think you were insulting me. But it's Hee-chan, so I know you're joking. Such a great sense of humor about it. It'd be awful if someone were to take advantage of your good nature, like making you help them with their work. Shizune seems excited for a second, a little surprised that I'm willing to challenge her. But when she sees Hanako coming back, she walks off with a smile. I guess the mind games are over early today. Hanako gently sets down her desk in front of Misha's. Her eyes are locked downwards, and I'm left wondering why until I look down around the class. Most are busy setting up their own groups, but a few are casting curious glances at her. At this range, it's hard to tell whether that is where their interest in her ends, or if they're talking about her as well. It's strange. No one bats an eyelid when Hanako runs out of class to avoid group work, but now she's making an effort. They're staring at her as if she's done something wrong. We all move to sort ourselves out, spreading our textbooks and worksheets around the larger surface created by the four joined desks. It isn't long before before the class as a whole gets down to work. Hi, Hanako. It's nice to finally work with you. Yeah. Are you the reason Hee-chan has been avoiding us lately? Shi-chan says it's a little rude, but if Hee-chan wants to spend time with a cute girl, it's understandable. I don't think it's like that. Hanako says to fidget, unused to this kind of attraction. Oh, tension. I think that an ordinary person would drop the conversation by now, but Misha is like an antithesis of Hanako. Part of that includes being blind to ordinary social cues, while Hanako is overly sensitive to them. Because of that, Misha barrels ahead with the questions too quickly for me to get a chance to interject and guide the discussion to somewhere more comfortable. Really? So he wasn't hanging out with you yesterday? No. I could feel my cover being blown already. Lily didn't want Hanako to know that we were out buying presents for her, let alone planning out her birthday party. It wouldn't be good for her to find out. Yeah, I was doing something else. You know how it is. Really, I wonder what was so important for Hee-chan to blow us off like that. If it wasn't to spend time with Hanako, then what could it be? It's really interesting. Now, this is starting to feel like an interrogation. I'm surprised at how Misha is able to exert such a feeling of pressure without actually intending to. Were you with Lily? Out of nowhere, Hanako manages to stumble on the answer. She may be dreadfully quiet and shy, but she's very intuitive. What makes you say that? Yesterday, Lily said something similar. Suspicious. Hee-chan, I demand that you explain yourself. Shouldn't we be doing the assignment? But it's so mysterious, even Hanako wants to know. I turn to look at Hanako. It's true. From the expression on her face, it's obvious that she wants to know as well, and I think we're past the point where I could weasel out of having to provoke an explanation, or provide an explanation. I apologize to Lily in my mind. She really did want to keep it a secret, but now it doesn't seem possible anymore. I feel a rush of conflicting emotions, so jumbled that I can't readily identify them, but they crash around my head as I try to calm myself down and speak. Alright, I'll tell you. I went into town with Lily, but it wasn't what you think. Lily and I were for Hanako's birthday. Why would you, mention that, though? Why would you, mention that? Why wouldn't you just, say, yeah, we went to town yesterday to, just look around. She was, she was showing me around the city. Just say that. You don't have to bring up Hanako's birthday. The cat is out of the bag, but it looks like Hanako is taking a little better than I thought she would. A brief silence passes around our little group as Shizune and Misha look at each other sheepishly. I can tell they didn't expect their game to turn out like this. Misha looks up to Hanako in order to apologize, then pauses. Hanako is staring at the middle of her desk and barely moving, a maudlin expression on her face. I guess I was wrong about her taking it well. Hanako? I'm sorry. There's a few seconds pause, but Hanako lifts and shakes her head. It's okay. Her expression looks odd, like she's very tired. That doesn't seem natural, but it's nothing alarming. Nobody really wants to continue with the current conversation, so we open our textbooks and begin our group work. This is pretty dull. While the equations are supposed to work out as a group will take a while, most of it is going to be boringly mechanical. It also doesn't help that while that didn't go as bad as it could have, it has left an awkward atmosphere around us. Still, we manage. Shizune's face betrays that she has about the same expectation of our work as I do, and the two of us begin to write our group's results. Misha, on the other hand, is scrunching up her lips and very visibly trying to make heads or tails of what we're doing. Hanako is looking on, quietly absorbing what we write and what I say. She usually has the same expression when the teacher speaks. It's a shame that her attendance is so unreliable, or the way she takes in information. I think she'd do quite well in class if she actually followed the lessons regularly. I wonder if this might be why Shizune seems so hard on her. Hey, Hanako, do you understand this? Misha looks to Hanako, but I suspect her hope is more than a little, to find a comrade in ignorance rather than genuine help. Not really, I guess. I'm surprised by how tense she is in answering, but she settles back down. She breathes out, and the way her upper body and head lower remind me of a deflating balloon. You okay? I could go over this bit if you want. Hanako shakes her head slightly, but then again, I don't think she needs the explanation despite what she said. Misha quickly interjects, entirely oblivious, and I end up slowly going through how we ended up at one of our results step by step. Times like this remind me that this kind of work may not be mechanical for everyone, but rather feels that way to me due to my grasp of the subject. It's a satisfying feeling. As Misha brings her balled fist onto an open-handed realization, I discover another nice feeling. My explanation got through to her, and she managed to work out the next equation by herself with minimum guidance. Throughout all this, Hanako is unusually unresponsive. She's normally very quiet, but one can still see her eyes roving periodically over the landscape of the classroom in front of her, or anxiously moving her hands in some way, or shifting her shoulders periodically. Right now, these small movements that I've gotten used to seeing are all missing. Someone not moving at all is definitely weird. Even Misha can tell there's something wrong. Hanako, are you sure you're okay? Yes. Are you sure? I'm fine. A little more strongly this time, but she turns away as she says that. It only makes me doubt her answer, yet at the same time I can tell she doesn't want to talk about it further. Having already had one very awkward conversation today that I'm not fully over, I don't want to pursue the matter too much either. We settle back into our routine, debating over our answers whenever their doubt comes up, but as time goes on, I notice that Hanako isn't talking at all. It's frustrating. She has made so much progress. It makes me a little angry that Chizune and Misha for undoing the surprise Lily had wanted to keep secret so much. I know I'm at fault too. You could have just said you went to the city and Lily was showing you around because you haven't been there. Maybe I could have kept it under wraps somehow. Somehow, he says. Shizune has noticed Hanako's silence as well. Oh, did she now? And is also getting antsy. I can see it on her face. It's strange that even though she's deaf, Shizune has perceived Hanako's unusual quietness sooner than Misha. Hanako, you're being too quiet. You have to contribute too. Someday we might work on a bigger project, like one that's so big it's worth celebrating afterwards. Like with ice cream or cake. If you act like this, we won't take you along. You can tell they're trying to tease her to bring her out of her shell, but I don't think that kind of approach will work on Hanako. It will just make her feel worse. Guys don't tease her like that. He-chan, it's all in good fun. She-chan says she teases everyone anyway. They do back off, though, with Misha moving away from the issue by asking me a question again. On seeing how difficult the problem she is working on, I don't know whether it was a skillful dodge or a mere coincidence. It takes way more of our time than necessary because Shizune keeps disagreeing with me while I'm trying to explain it to Misha, and Misha is quick to believe her over me. So quick, in fact, she forgets to translate what Shizune is saying. Hey, the clock is kind of ticking down. We should speed up a little. He-chan, you sound a little like She-chan there. Just because I looked at my watch? Geez, is it really all it takes? Time management and suddenly I'm the student council president? No, she doesn't look like she's having a good time. I look at Hanako's desk to see how she's doing and freeze. Our papers are covered in equations, but Hanako's only halfway there. It seems like she hasn't written anything in the past 20 minutes. When I realize that, I want to kick myself for how dumb I've been. Should have known that someone as fragile as Hanako wasn't going to just brush off what happened so easily, and I've been too eager to move on from an awkward situation to notice. She's been slowly shutting down for the past half hour, and I had no clue. Her pen is still in her hand, but she doesn't slowly spin around like she usually does. There isn't a single idle movement from Hanako. Only the fact she tries to inch away when she feels Shizune, Misha, and I looking at her tells me she's even still conscious. We look away, and at least in my case, it's partially out of shame that it's gotten to this point. Though on the outside she has shut down almost completely, I know that it's a different story on the inside. What kind of things could she be thinking about as she tries harder and harder to shrink into herself as if by willing it she could somehow disappear? Everyone is looking at her now, stealing quick glances in between putting the finished touches on their work. Misha attempts to ask her what's wrong, but that only makes the problem worse. If she weren't frozen into her seat, she would probably run out of the room right now. Misha's questions are loud enough to be heard throughout the entire classroom, and for a second I'm ready to snap at her, because I can only imagine how much worse it's making Hanako feel. Of course, if I were to do that, it would only make the situation even worse. I believed that Hanako had gotten stronger, and she has, but it wasn't enough, and I was too eager to believe it. Now she's terrified, alone in the middle of the classroom, and there's nothing I can do without drawing more attention to her. It's infuriating. Misha's worried, and even Shizune is biting her lip. None of us know how to deal with the situation, so I decided to call Muto. His judgment would probably be better than ours. I look up and manage to catch his eye, silently motioning for him to come over. I want to make as little a fuss about this as possible, since if there's anything that would make this worse, it's more attention being focused on her. I know Hanako can see everyone staring at our group, specifically at her, because they know that if there's a problem, it has to be her. Everyone knows her, and it's the first thing everyone's mind would leap to. Her reputation for being a truant has marked her as an unusual person, even an unusual Yamaku. Who knows how many times they have stared at her before? Maybe it's because she's seen the class staring at her so much that she fears their gazes like she does, cowering from them. The time it takes Muto to walk over must be like an eternity to Hanako, and she looks as if she's about to fall over. Muto quietly begins to ask us what's wrong before catching himself as he sees Hanako. Did we upset her? Don't worry. Muto bends down after calming Misha and looks intently at Hanako's face. Hi, Kazawa, can I help you at all? His voice is hushed and gentle. Everyone's acting so different around Hanako now that the whole class has noticed something wrong with her. Hanako doesn't respond, so Muto gently rests a hand on her shoulder. She starts shaking at his touch, but won't even look up. Hanako continues to stare into the equations on her desk, vision so unfocused that I doubt she even sees them. She's worse than before. I remember that not even an hour ago she was able to talk to him almost normally. Muto grimaces as he stands again, and now that his expression changed, I can see he wasn't exactly unaffected by what happened either. He takes a breath to settle himself before speaking in a very quiet voice. I'm a little impressed at how quickly he takes control of the situation. Is that it? Nothing wrong then? Muto seems to say that to no one in particular. However, his words sound convincing enough that most of the people who are looking over at Hanako now turn away, getting back to their work. He gives a quick glance to his left and right. Several people at the desks around us are still staring curiously, but other than that, we seem to have escaped attracting too much attention. Muto notices me doing the same as him and smiles a little in his usual stilted way. I think for Ikazawa's sake, it would be good to quickly take her somewhere away from the others. Nakai Hakamichi, could you please take Ikazawa out of the classroom? I'll keep everyone settled, so please don't worry about anything but her, okay? He looks at Misha to tell her to interpret his words for Shizune, but she's already finishing her translation by the time he does so. It's remarkable how little thought she needs to sign, and she still looks quite dazed otherwise. Nodding, Shizune and I stand and move to either side of Hanako. Muto steps back to allow us some room and talks to the table behind us as some people there have begun to mutter between themselves about what's going on. We look at each other before lowering ourselves in unison, taking one arm around each of our shoulders and lifting. Two of us begin to walk at a slow pace to make sure we don't inadvertently hurt her. As much as we try to make this look normal, I'm quite sure there would be many more gazes on us if not for Muto's distraction. Eventually, thankfully, we reach the door and go through. Nobody's outside, so we walk down the hallway. It doesn't seem like it's making her more at ease than when she was in the classroom. Finally, I ask if she wants to just sit down. For a while, we simply stay in place and wait for her to say something. Shizune tentatively rubs Hanako's shoulder a little, but there's no response. Eventually, she shakes her head a little when Shizune tries again. Both of us are looking at her, so we pick up on it immediately. Shizune's hand again comes to rest on Hanako's shoulder as she awakens, her face lifting to two very worried and anxious people looking at her. She looks at us silently for a while. I'm initially worried she might freak out or do something extreme, but those fears prove unwarranted as her expression slowly changes from an almost lifeless blank stare to a more normal, withdrawn shyness. She wordlessly lowers her head, her eyes evasively moving to the side. She looks embarrassed, almost ashamed. I want to say something, anything to help. I can't, though. I don't really know what just happened, or even what caused it. I feel helpless and ashamed of myself for not being of any use. Shizune sighs before looking at me. Even without words, I can tell what she's asking. I'll take Hanako to the nurse. Is that okay by you? He asks the deaf girl. I'm trying to communicate my intentions through hand gestures, but I don't feel like I managed to get through to her very well. Shizune makes a dreary face in response to my gesticulations, confirming my impression. She stabs her fingers in the air decisively, first at me, then at Hanako, and then towards the stairs. She waits for me to nod before pointing at herself, then pointing at the door to the classroom. I get the feeling Shizune is much better at this than I am. I nod at her, since her plan is, after all, the same as mine. Shizune gets ready to make her exit, but she only leaves after looking at Hanako for quite some time. Are you okay with me taking you to the nurse's office? Hanako doesn't say anything or nod, but she stands up in place by herself, and when I begin to walk, she obediently follows. I've read about people being catatonic before, but I think this time I'm seeing it for myself. She looks extremely tired after everything that's happened. It's not a surprise. After Hanako silently takes off her shoes and lies on the bed in the infirmary, the nurse and I take our leave. He shuts the curtain behind us, we both take a seat, and I quietly and thoroughly go through everything that happened in quite some detail. I want to understand what happened, and the nurse has as good a chance as anyone of knowing. He nods throughout my explanation, his face looking troubled as I finished. It must have been very troubling for you to have seen all this. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. I get that she fainted, but I don't really understand anything about why it happened or why she's acting like this. He nods, but his face is clouded. You don't know either. Well, yes and no. It's complicated. I assume you've heard about the concept of patient confidentiality at some point. This is a bit of a minefield in that respect. I'm going to put this bluntly. This is a matter for Ikazawa, me, and her therapist. I move to protest, but think better of it. I want to deny what he says, but if I think this through rationally, what he says makes perfect sense. I understand. Good. I wish I could help you more, but I think that Ikazawa needs right now isn't somebody prying into her past or her emotions. She just needs somebody to be there for her. She needs a friend. For what it's worth, I think you've done well in bringing her here. It sounds like you and your friends dealt with the situation well, too. I give you a lollipop or a sticker as a reward, but you might be a little too old for either. He gives a cocky grin, obviously trying his best to lighten the atmosphere. I'm not really in a laughing mood, but he does manage to get a smile out of me. Thanks. Do you mind if I stay here for a while with Hanako? I appreciate the thought, but I think it would be better to let her rest for now. She'll be let back to her dormitory room this evening, so you could visit her then. I agree with him before standing. It feels like all I can ever do around the nurse is humbly agree with what he says, but it was the same with the doctors in the hospital too. I walk back to the classroom, and the walk back to the classroom is a long one, my mind feeling heavy under the weight of so many things happening so suddenly. Even as I re-enter the classroom, I'm thinking about Hanako. My stomach feels like it's turning into knots while I think about how to deal with her. I still don't know what I'm going to say when I see her again. Thankfully, the class doesn't pay me much heed. There are a couple of questioning glances, but overall not many people seem to be very aware of what happened. Muto raises his eyebrows to get my attention when I pass by his desk. Nakai, I think Ikazawa's in the infirmary now. Yeah, I took her there. The nurse said I should let her rest. Muto nods, assuring me that I made the right call. He scratches his chin for a second before rising from his desk. Everyone, I want you to continue with the exercise. Nakai, I'll see you in the hallway, please. His speech is hushed, but overall he doesn't seem to be acting too differently from how he usually does. Being a teacher, maybe it's to be expected. As we go out into the hallway, I notice him taking a quick glance left and right to check if there are any students milling about. The hallway is nearly soundless, but I can't think of anything except waiting for Muto to speak. Nakai, what do you think the purpose of this school is? To cater to the needs of disabled students? Muto scratches his head as he shakes it. No, if we want to do that, we would have built a whole new school from scratch. One floor, walking whiteboards, that kind of thing. Look around, Nakai. The school is about giving you all a future that you would have been denied in regular education. Think of it this way. If we wanted you to graduate and go straight into a hospital, do you think we'd put in this much effort? The bluntness of Muto's statement temporarily stuns me, causing me to forget about the immediate situation. No. That's right. We want you all to leave here as useful members of society. I'm not quite sure I'm following you. I have high hopes for you, Nakai. You are possibly the first student I've had that gets my lectures. That isn't something that a teacher should be admitting so freely. You could easily take your studies of science well into university. Have you ever considered that? I can't say I have. Well, what have you considered for your future, that is? I can't say I put much thought into my future. For a moment I'm distinctly reminded of Lily questioning me about the same subject. It's only been a little over 5 months since I was gasping for air on the ground. It's too soon to be thinking about the future, and besides, Hanako's problems seem much more bigger to me right now. Muto gives a disapproving sigh before continuing. Think of this place as an opportunity. Here you have boundless facilities, good teachers, plus the added bonus of the nurse and his staff. You should be doing nothing but thinking of the future. Right. As I raise my head to meet his gaze, a thought occurs to me. It's almost like Muto totally sidestepped the issue at hand. Excuse me, but why do none of the staff seem to care when Hanako skips classes? I've seen you watch her walk out of the class more than once. Shouldn't you at least say something? Well, Nakai, it's not really that simple. Every student here has special needs. If it weren't for that, then we wouldn't have a school here. For example, I wouldn't keep you in class if you were having trouble breathing, would I? But that's not... Muto cuts me off before I can even think about finishing my sentence. Ikazawa's case is very much like that, but instead of CPR or a pacemaker, what she needs is time and space. The faculty was made aware of this from the day she arrived here, thus whenever she feels the need to leave class, we let her do so. And even though she isn't a star pupil, she seems to pass all of her exams, so it hasn't affected her ability to study. Isn't that enough? I open my mouth to protest, but I can't find a fault in this argument. While her condition does at first seem to be wholly physiological, its worst effects have been on her psyche. It still puts me off, though. Isn't he just passing on the responsibility for her problem? Surely he can't go on like this for her entire life. I understand that you might not be used to this kind of thing yet. It's been a big change for you. That said, it's less than a year until graduation now. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you won't have to get used to this school. If you keep your head down, I'm sure you'll do well enough in your exams. I numbly nod, more to simply acknowledge that I'm listening out of agreement. I felt like I was getting used to this school, but it feels like it's just been thrown back in my face. But what about Hanako? I believe, well, I hope that she'll perform well enough to do what she wants to do. What that is, I don't know. Not all students leave school with an idea of what they want to do, unfortunately. He takes care to emphasize the last word, as if it wasn't quite clear enough already, and gives me a moment to mull over his words. Today's been a troublesome day for you, and I doubt you'd be able to concentrate much anyway after all that's happened, so I'll allow you to take the rest of the day off. Your marks have been good in this class so far, which makes me think you won't have any trouble catching up on what we've been doing. He gives a small smile along with his praise, as if to make up for the seriousness of his lecturing before now. Go, collect your things, and I'll see you tomorrow. Right, thank you. Muto's roundabout speech has left my thoughts scattered. I'm still not any closer to working out what I can do to help Hanako, if anything, and my mind is all the more confused as to after what Muto said. I'm also still bothered by the fact that Hanako was helped at least as much by Shizune, her enemy by proxy, as by myself, but I don't know whether that is just male bravado or a genuine concern. While I collect Hanako's and my things from the class, I continue to try and sort out my feelings. I want to say that I understand her, that I'm there for her, but while I might have been able to say that just yesterday, I can't say it now. I wish I could. I lay on my bed trying to collect my thoughts. After Hanako's panic attack, I found myself fundamentally reassessing the relationship we share and what I know about her. I had a hard enough time dealing with 4 months in the hospital. One look at her scar tells me that she was in one for a lot longer than I was. Be that as it may, I know next to nothing about her past. She has told me about the house fire, but only in the most basic way. And what of her family? I still haven't asked Lily about them. There hasn't been a good opportunity to bring it up. I don't know where she grew up, or what her old school was like, nor of her past friends, her wishes and ambitions. Not even her taste in music, food, and movies, all little things that I knew about all of my old friends. Just what have I been doing for all this time I've been with her and Lily? In the distance, I hear the bells signaling the end of classes. With any luck, Lily will soon realize that neither Hanako nor I are around her and return to the dormitories. My mobile phone starts to ring, cutting my thinking short. It quite startles me, as I've rarely been called since coming to Yamaku. Hello, this is Hisao Nakai speaking. Oh, Hisao, I'm glad I found you. You weren't at any of our usual places, so I thought this would be the fastest way to contact you. I probably should have guessed it would be Lily, as she's one of the few people I've given my number to. Even through the phone, her voice sounds slightly on edge. Hanako and I left class early. She had some kind of panic attack. The line goes silent. If it weren't for the background static, I would have thought Lily had hung up on me. I understand. Could you come by my room? I'd like to talk with you. Sure, I'd appreciate the chance to have a bit of a talk, actually. Good. I also have some bad news. I think we should discuss this in person. It's hard to grasp the seriousness of the situation from Lily's tone. She sounds so calm most of the time, but that could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. Okay, I'll be right there. I collect Hanako's school things from my desk and head straight for Lily's room. And we're going to do this on the next part, which I'm going to do after, I can't remember, the game with the sea witch. I'm going to finish that, then I'll come back to this, so it'll be a while. Anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Have fun on your vacation, guy who asked. At least I think, I don't know if it's for vacation. He just said he's going away for like a month, so I'm just assuming it's vacation. But have fun doing whatever you're doing. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.